I've been continuing to work on this thing. I rerouted my fuel line. It used to come out to the front and come up this part of the engine, and I cut it off here and then ran it up this way with a filter in it and carried it up, put a fuel pressure gauge on it, and ran it into the carburetor that way. I think it's got a cleaner look. I think it unclutters the engine bay. I put on my black valve covers and air cleaner. I added a push button ignition switch. It doesn't really, you turn the key on for ignition and then you push the button to start the car. It doesn't cut the engine off. You don't push the button to cut the engine off, you just turn the key off for that. Didn't really need it. I just kind of like it. There's just something about it that has like a hot rod context, so I kind of like it. I finished up my trunk bracket, built this bracket here, mounted the trunk latch mechanism, and then up here I built this to catch the trunk latch mechanism. This spring actually pushes the trunk up. When I push the button, it pushes the trunk up to unlatch it. I think I'm going to leave this little black loop on it and have that as the trunk lift on it. I think it's kind of got a hot rod look to it. This, what looks like diamond plate flooring here, is actually a rubber pad that I bought from Home Depot and cut it to fit. To put it in the trunk, it will absorb some of that hollow sound that the trunk used to have when you had stuff rattling around in there, and I'm hoping that'll quiet down the trunk. I'm anxious to get it on the road. I've got one more thing I want to do to it. I want to put the soft top on it. That's my next step. I'll make a paper pattern by laying paper in here and tracing around this edge, cut it out, and then trace it on a piece of foam, probably carpet underlayment, 7/16 8-pound carpet padding, and I'll cut that and put it in there, and that'll be my foam padding to put the vinyl top over top that. And that's what I'm going to start on next. The first step in putting one of these Giuliano tops on is to take this molding here, this channel, aluminum channel, and bend it to the shape you need to outline your soft top. Now, since I took a soft top off here, these are the original ones, I'm going to reuse those. So it's already the right shape and all the holes are in place already, so I don't have to go through those steps. So I can begin with cutting the foam to fit and build the frame to stretch the vinyl across the top. Here's my paper pattern. I've cut it and just kind of test it to make sure it's the right size. Everything seems to be really good. So I'll lay it now out on this piece of foam. And trace that. I'll let that dry before I peel that off. There. Well, let's see how that fits. Yeah, that's a good fit. I went back and sprayed a little adhesive underneath this padding and glued it down to the surface to keep it from shifting while I'm putting the vinyl on. I took a coat hanger and cut these small pieces and put them through the existing holes to use them as guide pins when I place the metal strip around the top of the vinyl. I did that in several spots all the way around the car. To keep them from falling all the way through, I went inside and just taped them in place and just put a little masking tape on them and kind of taped them in place. So when I lay the vinyl over the surface, what I'll do is come back and push that up through the vinyl, and that'll be my locator pin for the metal strip that goes around it. I built this wooden frame and stretched the vinyl around it. It's stapled very securely all the way around it. It's nice and straight, no wrinkles or anything in it. So when I take that now and set it on top of the car, it will ensure that the vinyl is stretched tight and evenly with no wrinkles all the way around it. The frame will sit out here, and then I'll push the pins up through the vinyl and put the metal strip down on it and locate them, and then I'll go back through and rivet it down in all the locations. So here it is, frame in position, and now I just have to go back and put the vinyl strips in and try and rivet them down. Okay, so here I've got my metal strip in place, and I don't know how well you can see it, but the guide pins are all up through the holes, and now it's just a matter of taking the pop rivets and going in from the top, pushing them down tight and hitting the pop rivets and hoping I selected the right length pop rivet so it's a good tight hole. Here's the aluminum strip. It's riveted down. I went all the way around in the original holes and put rivets in them, and then I came back and drilled some additional holes to put the rivets closer together. When this was initially put on, the rivets, some of them were as much as 6 inches apart. The installation instructions say you should put them 1 inch apart. So I went back and drilled additional holes. I'm probably not putting them 1 inch apart, but I'm putting them about 1.5 inches apart. So I've got to go back now and drill additional holes in here and put more rivets in. I'm at a standstill right now because I ran out of rivets, and they're special order because nobody carries them locally because of their length, and I had to order them from Fastenal and they won't be in for a couple of days. So I'll get back on it and finish riveting it up in a few days. This piece across the back, this aluminum strip should have been one piece all the way around the roof, but for some reason it's done this way. That was the original. These are the original pieces off the top that was on here to begin with. I'm reusing them. So I don't know why they were done like this, but there is a black cover that goes over the aluminum and hides it, and it will bridge this gap here and that one over there, and it won't even be noticeable that there's a gap in it. I'm probably going to take and put 2 rivets in here just to make sure that this vinyl is held down right here, and then that rubber will come over and cover those 2 rivets. If the holes aren't drilled perfectly in the center of the aluminum strip, when you put the rivet in place, it doesn't go all the way down to the bottom of the strip. It hangs up on the edge right here. So what I'm having to do is go back and take the rivets and file a flat spot on one side. And then when I put it in, it will sink all the way to the bottom of the hole that was drilled. Here's what I'm talking about. That file a flat edge off that rivet right here, and then it'll fit down right down into the frame. Tapping it also drives the aluminum down tight, where it might have a tendency to swell up in between rivets. Tapping it also flattens the aluminum, makes the rivet grab better. I've got all my rivets in. I went back and put them in very close together in some spots and made sure it was good and secure. I'm really satisfied with how tight that metal band fits to the roof, and now it's time to cut the vinyl away, from the excess vinyl away. You just take this razor blade and come right down here along this edge and cut it out. What I'm going to do is take this cardboard and slide it up under the vinyl and get it as right up against that edge, and it'll give me something to cut against so that I don't cut completely through and cut into the paint. The vinyl's completely cut all the way around the retaining band. It's separated completely. All I have to do now is just lift the frame off. Just lift it and walk it back steady on the ground. All that's left is to snap this vinyl cover over top the metal hold down strip, and it already has a shape to it because it's the original piece. It was on the car for 17 plus years, so it's pretty much in shape right now. But I think what I'm going to do is lay it out in the sun and let it heat up, and it'll be easier to snap over. Start in the back, go all the way around, snapping this on, and the other end will come out and should meet here. As I recall from the original placement, there was a little bit of a gap in here, and I think it's whoever put it on initially cut the rubber. They cut the rubber too short. Or maybe it shrunk up over a period of time. It's been out in the sun heating up, so it should snap over pretty good. It already has the shape of the frame. It retained the shape of the frame because it's had that shape in it for so many years. There it is. There is a little gap right back there in the center. I'll have to try and find something to fill that gap with. Originally, I think it was cut too short. And it's not quite the center, but I had to make sure that the corners, these corners, fit right in the same place. So I just had to put the corner in place and then accept wherever that gap fell. It's not perfectly in the center of the car. I'll see if I can find something to bridge that gap so it won't be so obtrusive. That's it. I'm ready to take this thing out on the road. There's still a lot more things I want to do to it. For example, a headliner. I need to put a headliner in it. A couple other minor things, but I'm ready to drive this thing now.